Um, Biggest failure though, you did ask. What do you think the biggest failure has been?
Biggest failure?
Would rather me answer that to rather put you in an awkward position.
No, I'm gonna be completely transparent on this. Biggest failure. Biggest failure.
I know what mine is already, and I think you'll be quite shocked at this.
Go on, what's yours?
Titans.
You think so?
I do. I really do. I
Hmm.
think that when they came out, and I do enjoy being right, but I would rather not be right. And when this came out, I think in playtest, I said this is going to be impossible to balance because you've got a transformer that is as big as a base. Now, if this can take out a base, you're going to have problems. People just not needing bots and just wiping out a base with the Titan and nothing much. But on the other side, if they're not doing enough damage, then it looks ridiculous that you've got a Titan that can do less damage than a Combiner, or the same as Combiner,
Mm.
when it's 10 times the size. So it's almost impossible to balance. So then, when they brought the fighting part out, I was like, alright, well, it's Titan against Titan. I understand that. So it helps people in events. I'm all for that because you drop a Titan, drop a bot, you get more XP. That's alright, that's fine. But in terms of wars, it kind of is a distraction. And I still don't even think they're balanced right. I still don't. And I totally disagree with how it works. Just the whole concept of it, and I just don't think they've had the impact on wars that we wanted at all. And I just
Mm.
think they are a bit of a distraction, really. If I'm brutally
Mm.
honest, I think that
Okay.
the too much emphasis is on it, and I've said for a long time that for me, again, down to choice. You should have a choice of right. I'm going to use my Titan on the base, but I know I'm going to lose my Titan. So towards the end of the battle, their Titan is going to be left standing because I've used my abilities on the base. So I need to get through this base quickly. If I can get through this base in 2 minutes, say 2.5 minutes, whatever, then you know what? I'll be able to use the Titan on the base, get through the base, and no matter if my Titan loses, I'm going to win. But I also be able to choose, you know what? I'm not going to use them on the base. I need my Titan to win to help me towards the end of the battle. And it gives you that choice. But
Yeah.
right now, it just seems that your Titan
It's
always
a
wins
whack-a-mole. Yeah.
no matter what. You can use it on the base and then still win the battle, so you get the benefit of both. So it's just an extra something to make it easier rather than a
I
choice.
will agree with it makes balancing a lot harder
Hmm.
because then you've got to take into account that, but then everybody's got different Titans, albeit they've probably got the same Titan perks and Titan levels. But yes, it does. It's a bit of a killer when it comes to balance. But my failure, I would probably say, um, there's not really, the features that we've put out. Like I think the Cyber Pass, that's definitely not a failure.
No.
Titans, that's probably your failure. I quite like seeing them in game, and so does many
Oh
other.
well, I like the concept.
I really like
I
the
love
concept as well.
Titans. It's the
Yeah,
way
you
they've been
just
put in somehow. Yeah.
way they put in.
It
Yeah,
was always a bit hard though. But,
I would probably go cross faction alliances, and I say that because I think it should have come earlier.
right,
And
yeah.
I'm very disappointed that we are probably 7 years into the game and we are talking about cross-faction alliances. Because for me, my vision of games is I like to have as many people as possible playing with each other, and it goes for many other games as well. I mean, WoW's added cross play after 12 years. No, after more than that, way longer than that, and I'm sat here complaining it's come after 7. So maybe it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that bad, but I would have loved to have seen that feature in the game earlier, because then I think like the Titan, the Metroplex 5-star event, that would have been Metroplex 5-star, Mega Supreme 5-star event, that would have been really cool to done cross faction. That was is that a year ago? No, it's 2 years ago. It was in the summer, so that would have been nice to have. But yeah, I think it should have come earlier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
Uh,
another failure. Sorry, another failure for you. Probably giving top players a challenge, because you have mentioned that
yeah.
we've given them a bit of a challenge, but I do sense that there is a very very small bracket of players who are like, I want a little bit more from this game, and maybe the tournament doesn't do that sometimes. Like they
Well,
they enjoy the scale up in
we
effects from the tournament,
we sort of
but
talked upon this, and this is the
yeah,
problem that I think that honestly, if I'm honest, playtest was pushing for extra effects, and Yanis sort of come in and said no. So then we balanced the effects with that in mind, and then the build bot bug came out, which made it harder and made it challenging. And you self confessed that you put like, oh, maybe we should keep it in. For me though, that the
yeah,
frustration wasn't that the frustration was, listen, we could have put this in to not being a bug,
Do you
but
know what
actually
it
incorporated
was?
it and made it that difficulty. But you guys sort of said we don't want it that difficult. But then you sort of realised that people like the challenge, and we're like, oh, maybe we should have it this hard. But we was already saying in
Yeah, but
playtest, this is how hard we want it. And I know there's two sides of the coin, but
do you
I
know
think
what
it
it was
shows that
though?
there's still that more you can do, because
Yeah.
even now people are getting high scores even with this. So that's the level you wanted it at. It's currently at this level, and you could probably even go to there if you really wanted to. So we've still got that in between, and we're still not even at there. You know.
Yeah, what it was is it's quite a funny one because in testing we actually said that the effects were harder than the previous ones.
Yeah, yeah,
At one
yeah.
point we actually said they were too hard. So I remember that before release, and nobody really knows this, that the 24 hours before release, we cut the combiner HP in
Yeah, yeah,
half.
yeah,
We
yeah.
literally cut the combiner health in half 24 hours before because I was very cautious that I didn't want to chuck these hard effects on the large player base who play in hard mode. And then they went live and people were just saying these are too easy. So, you know, it's very difficult to get war effects right. It is so tough to get war effects right because we test them, they seem hard, they go to live, that it's a mixed bag. It can go either way.
Mm.
Players may think that they're too easy because they've got tons of bots catered for those kind of effects. Then we bring in like the healing effects that we had previously. They were pretty hard when they went in. Over time, people adapted to them
Yeah,
pretty well.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's just really really hard when it comes to war effects and getting that balance right because honestly it gets to like I would much probably rather at this stage now, from what I've learned after a year of war testing, is go right. Let's just push the easy, and then every week or every 2 weeks go right. We're putting up this, and then we're increasing this, and then this maybe every like 3 or 2 weeks, because then you would get it right because then you know what players are
I just think that the problem with that is that
scoring.
But then the problem with that is that when you set something out and then people are sort of getting used to them effects, you keep shifting the goalposts. They're never really going to get used to them effect because you think, right, this is my team, this is what I'm going to work on because I see that team viable. Then all of a sudden you up the HP and people are like, right, well, that bot I was chasing no longer is viable. It's not a one shot. Right, well, what else am I going to use? All right, I'm going to chase this bot, and this is what is really good. And then 4 weeks down the line, that bot might not be able to be successful anymore. And you're like, well, what's the point in this? Because the goalposts keep
Yeah,
changing constantly. So
but then
having it set effects where it's like, this is the difficulty, this is where you're not going to net to, and you're going to know over time people are going to find it easier as they sort of get used to it. But I think that's just a case of having faith in you guys that listen, these are effects. You are going to find it hard for the first few weeks. They're going to be in here for the next 4 months. Look at the past year. Towards the end of it, you are going to find it easier. Once we get to around 12k scores, we'll look at it again because obviously you've got used to these effects, and we'll sort of switch it up in 4 months' time, maybe.
yeah, I think the worst thing about it is when you push hard effects, is the players naturally compare what they did in the last set of effects, which is not good because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are different effects. You've done them for 12 weeks or even more in some cases. Um, you've practiced those effects again and again. When you get these effects, of course you're not going to be doing 300 as you have done for the past 6 weeks. These are new effects, so it's very hard to change perspective on that. But yeah, it's just really a mixed bag when you push effects. You just simply don't know if they're going to be too hard or too easy. And the last thing we want to do is, because naturally, if we push effects too hard, people will just go, I don't want to play in hard mode anymore. It's not for me, and people start dropping out, and that's not what we want because that's what the tournament's there for. We've got way harder effects on there, but Prime League hard mode should still be kind of challenging to most players.